doing today? Nice to see you. This is going to be, I guess, another redriving video, obviously. This time we're starting off in downtown Halifax, the biggest and probably the best city in all of Atlantic Canada. A mystical place where we have the incredibly unique Donair. I'll let you Google that, but for the Scots out there, it's a variation on our classic Scottish doner kebab. So it's, the jury might still be out as to whether or not it's better than the Scottish one, but I'll let you guys Google that and find out, okay? That's Donair, D-O-N-A-I-R. Go look it up after the video, okay? Don't mess up the watch time. Alright, we'll try to grow the channel here, so I'd appreciate your help with that. So here we are in downtown Halifax. A mix of old and new. Where I lived before in Edinburgh, it's very old. And where I lived after that in Auckland, it was very new. And I find Halifax to be just the right blend of old and new. New buildings, old buildings. Plus it is relatively small. It's about the same size of Wellington. Somewhere in the region of 300 to 350,000. Or actually over 400,000, depending on where you measure it. As most places, there's metro, there's the city itself, there's the metropolitan area, there's the wider region and all that stuff. So all you need to know really is that it's a fairly small city. Now this is a Sunday afternoon. We're driving here. So it is pretty quiet. And there was also, we just had a slight uptick in new cases of you know what. So there's been a few more restrictions that just came in for a couple of weeks. So it might be a wee bit quieter than normal. But there's still a few people hanging around and whatnot. So now that threw me. See how it just goes green like that? When I first, that didn't happen here, but when I first moved to New Zealand, actually Australia was the first place I drove overseas. It would go green and I would just sit there because I was so conditioned by fire truck. I was so conditioned by the British traffic light system where it goes red and orange, or red and amber, and then green. I don't know why that is. I think maybe it was give you a chance to put the car in gear or something. It's like a little bit of a warning. Here it's just green. And it's like, oh, shit, I have to go. And the amount of times I would sit there and people would do it at me. Anyway, that's another wee bit of useless trivia for you. Those houses there on the left and right, that's your pretty typical looking architecture in this side of Canada, and I really love it. You know, you'll have wee turrets over there, lots of nice colourful, you know, one house will be yellow, next one will be blue, next one will be green, wooden weatherboard. I don't know what this style is, but I just really, really like it. You'll notice the image stabilizer struggling a wee bit, sort of drifting up and down a wee bit there, but that's okay, we can deal with that. At least it's nice and smooth. And for those of you interested, this particular camera is a Casso V50X. It's kind of like a cheap GoPro, and it's filming at 4K, 30 frames a second. I might squash it down to 1080p. We'll see what the final result looks like. Now we are driving up what's called University Avenue, and all those buildings on the left. The university is kind of scattered, it's near to the end. But all those buildings on the left, almost all of them, are healthcare, hospital, medical related. Some on the right too. Dentistry, stuff like that. And because this is, I think this is the most collection of hospitals and whatnot in this side of the country, this part of the country I should say, And I know that last year my son was unfortunate enough, but also fortunate enough to spend a couple of weeks in the IWK back there, which is the children's hospital. So I cannot praise that place enough. It is so good. And I gather from what I understand, people from all over Atlantic Canada do come there. I don't know how many other children's hospitals there are around, but from what I understand, the IWK is one of the main ones. So, and I've driven along this road a few times and seen ambulances from Prince Edward Island. May see one every couple of weeks. So obviously somebody is coming all the way from Prince Edward Island to here to get taken care of. So that's good. Prince Edward Island's quite small, so. This is Robbie Street. I called it Robbie Street for a while until everybody corrected me. And now we're heading kind of north. Yeah, we're heading north, I would say. That's Spring Garden Road on the right there. And you can see all the trees have lost their leaves now. Fall, autumn is pretty much over, and we're now on the cusp of winter. Sometimes it can be real gloomy. In fact, the last few days has been real gloomy. But today was one of the, actually today was the first sunny day in a while, so that's why we're going for a drive today, okay? And I think these trees against the blue sky look really, really cool, really spooky and moody, and I like it. And you'll see these houses along here again, another pretty typical Halifax street, although I would say these houses are not cheap, really. These are probably a bit more upmarket, right? But again, as far as the look goes, these would be your kind of pretty standard, very pretty and very nice houses that you would expect to see around here. Now I believe the road we're on now is called Jubilee Road, and just down here on the right, this little bit I believe is unofficially called Jubilee Junction. And where is it? Oh, I think it's just down here where that car is turning. That place on the right is one of the few places where you can get a really big jumbo slice of pizza for only $3. Just so you know. I love how these trees like sit right up and kind of arch over the road a wee bit. There's a nice church on the right there, whatever that one is, St. Thomas something or other. And we'll just wait behind this Tesla here. There's the image stabilizer just drifting over a wee bit again, trying to compensate for movement. Now we're heading down, and if you look straight ahead, you'll see water. A little bit. That is what is called the Northwest Arm. If this Tesla can get out of the way. Just going to turn right onto Connaught Avenue. Another one of the main roads in Halifax. That's the Northwest Arm down there, which is a bit of where the main harbour kind of branches off into a part of the city, and it's a very popular spot for boating and what have you. No, I learned to drive in Edinburgh, right, which is kind of old European city with really narrow streets and cobblestone roads. So I'm quite used to driving in narrow lanes. But I'm not 100% sure that everybody else is here. And I don't know if you look there, but see that car sitting right between those two white lines. To me, that's pretty narrow for here. And so this car on my right was super nervous that they're going to drift over that lane and scrape all down the side of my car. So whenever I'm driving around here, I tend to go quite defensively, as it were, which I guess you should anyway. But me even more so. So I'll probably gonna just let this guy go ahead of me, and you'll see that maybe he drifts a wee bit over the line a wee bit. Yeah, but not too bad. But yeah, this is, like, it's hard to tell on the camera, but generally speaking, the roads around here are massive. Like, some of the residential streets you could launch at launch? What does launch mean? I don't know. You could land a plane on it. They're just insanely wide. But for some reason, this one and some of the other ones around this part of Halifax are not. They're really quite narrow. Kind of more what you would expect to find in Britain. A couple of ambulances there. Now I've got the audio from the car off because my wife and kids are in the car and you don't want to hear all the commotion, so I know you're thankful for that. That is the northwest arm there. It kind of terminates up here by another thing that I am used to from where I'm from, and that is a roundabout. Now, if you're not from Canada or the US, maybe you're British or Scottish or English, whatever you would call yourself, roundabouts are very unusual here. And this is, even by UK standards, this is a bloody big roundabout with multiple lanes. And again, you won't see anybody indicating on, you won't see anybody indicating off. It's, apart from me, because I'm like programmed to do that, right? It's a little nerve-wracking because you're just not convinced that everybody else is used to it. So you'll see people changing lanes in the middle of the roundabout, or trying to change lanes, or they're not sure where they're going. And it's yeah, I've heard quite a bit of road rage around this place. So anyway, we're indicating off here up what's called Purcell's Cove Road. At least I think that's what it's called. Oh, and this is one of those streets where they change the lights. So right now it's 2 on the right and 1 on the left. And then they can reverse it at, like, you know, in the morning when the traffic's heavier, they can have 2 coming in and 1 going out, that type of thing. Now this wee trip for us, for me, is to a place called York Redoubt, which is one of the defensive fortifications on Halifax Harbour, which was there to stop invaders from back in the day, mostly I think to stop those pesky Americans, you know. So who's to say whether it worked or not? I don't think it ever fired a shot, but unfortunately my battery ran out before I got there, so you're not going to see that in this video. But if you're interested, maybe I can go back with a full battery and go for a wee walk around, and I can show you all the cannons and fortifications and the moat and all. That's pretty cool. It basically points out over the harbour, so that if anybody came in, hopefully get blown up. Back in the day, not anymore, of course. But you think I'm kidding about the American thing? There actually is an exhibit in, not at this fort, but at the main one, the Citadel, where they show a hypothetical American invasion of this part of Canada, how it would have worked, where our fortifications would be, or where the Canadian fortifications would be. Not our, I'm not Canadian, what am I talking about? At least not yet anyway. Or maybe I am. Oh, you may have witnessed a little moment there where, interesting. Anyway, yeah, and they have like details of, the Americans would have come this way, and they would have had to scale these walls, and they would have had to come up this part of the harbour, get past these fortifications, and then this one, and then that one, before they made it. So, yeah, it was pretty interesting. They obviously seriously considered that to be a possibility at one time. Anyway, the battery is about to die. So I hope you liked this little ramble, and I hope you liked this little drive around, hopefully, an interesting place that maybe you've never seen before. Maybe it looks different. Maybe it looks familiar. Take care, and I'll see you next time.